Have you ever stopped and talked to an old timer and talked to him about the prices of something like gas, and you hear him say, well, back in my day, the price of gas was 25 cents. And man, that was expensive back then. Now look at it, it's the $3 and some odd cents. This is ridiculous. There's no way it should cost that much. Well, there's one key thing that I said in there. And he said, well, it was expensive back then. But are we truly comparing apples to apples whenever we compare the price of gasoline from, say, the 50s or the 60s to the price of gasoline today? Well, no, we're not. We're not comparing it because the price of all goods have increased. We've experienced inflation, or that general rise in prices like we talked about in the last video. So now we're going to talk about two different types of prices that we talk about quite often in economics, both nominal and real prices. So what are nominal prices? Nominal prices are the prices that have not been adjusted for inflation. These are the prices you paid at the time. You talked to that old timer, he said, well, back in my day, price of gas was 25 cents. Well, that was the nominal price. That's the price you paid at the time. That was the price you paid at the pump. You compare it to now and say the price of gasoline is $3. That's the nominal price. Whenever we talk about something like milk prices and we say, well, the price today is $1.98, but back in the 1970s, it might have been $1.05. Those are nominal prices. They're prices that have not been adjusted for inflation, and that's what you paid at the time. So if we look at, say, the nominal prices of gasoline, back in the 1940s, if you were buying gas in the 1940s, you would have been paying 18 cents a gallon. If you had been buying gas in the 1980s or 1980, you might have been paying just $1.22 a gallon. Nowadays, or in 2014, the average price would have been $3.30. That's the price you're paying at that time. That's the nominal price. So let me ask you this. Would you rather buy gas in 1940 as compared to 2014? Would you rather buy it at 18 cents or at $3.33? But you had to be transported back into the 1940s to buy it at that 18 cents a gallon. Well, let's look at it from a different perspective. Would you rather have bought it in 1980 as compared to 2014? Would you rather buy it at $1.22 as compared to $3.33? But you got to be in the 1980s to experience that price? Well, the obvious answer is, heck yeah. It was cheap then. I'd rather go back and pay 18 cents or $1.22 a gallon as compared to $3.30. Who wouldn't? It'd be so much cheaper. It'd be so much better. But you got to remember, you would have had to been in the 1980s or the 1940s to be able to buy it at that price. So, yeah, it might have been cheaper back then, but everything was cheaper back then. The prices were just a lot less. The nominal prices on everything were a lot less. And then some might argue that the quality was a heck of a lot better and the prices were less. But another thing that was less was wages. You didn't get paid the same amount that you do these days. Talk to those old timers and you ask them, well, what did you get paid to work? And they might say, well, we got paid $1 a day and we were happy about that. Or we might got paid 10 cents an hour and we are so happy to get that 10 cents an hour. Nowadays, you get paid $7, $8 an hour minimum wage, and that's not enough. So everything was cheaper back then, but so was the wages. So was everything. So the question is, were you better off to be in the 1980s buying gas at $1.22 or in the 1940s buying gas at $4 or at 18 cents as compared to now at $3.33? Given the fact that prices of everything increased, and so does wages. If we were to take our wages from today in the current present time and adjust them to what they would have been in, say, the 1940s, well, are we better off buying that gas or are we worse off? Same thing with the 1980s. Well, how would we go about calculating this? How would we go about finding whether or not we would have truly been better off? Well, we are going to adjust those prices to the real prices. These are the prices that are adjusted for inflation. They're adjusted for that general increase in price. Well, how do we come up with the real price, the real value? Well, we take that nominal value, that nominal price that we talked about over here, divided by the price index for that year. Remember that price index shows you that percentage change, that percentage comparison of how things have changed over time. So we're basically just taking that value, dividing it by the price index to adjust prices to a single time period. We're bringing everything back to a time period. So now we're comparing prices of one time to the price of another time. We're comparing apples to apples. Now we're going to take that price that the old timer said of 25 cents, bring it to today's time, and be able to compare it in an accurate manner. So how does the real prices stack up? Well, if we look at it and we look at the nominal price that has been adjusted for inflation, we actually see at the real price of gasoline in the 1940s, if we were to bring the 18 cents that you would have paid in the 1940s and brought it into today's terms of the 2014 prices and compared them apples to apples, you would actually be paying $3.04 for that same gallon of gas back then, if we brought it back to today's terms. So we're bringing all this back to the year 2014 as our base year. What about in the 1980s? Well, in the 1980s, if you brought the price of $1.22 and brought it into today's terms, we would see that comparatively you would have actually been paying $3.50. And in 2014, you paid $3.30. So in reality, the price of gas, once you adjust for inflation, cost more in the 1980s than what it did in the 2014. So if we compare these three numbers, yes, we would have actually been better off buying gas in 1940 because once you adjusted for inflation, heck, it was actually a little bit cheaper. But if we compare that to the 1980s, you actually see that it was actually more. Due to inflation, it was, or once we could adjust for inflation, price of gasoline comparatively was more. So you hear that old timer say, well, back in my day it's 25 cents, and even then it was expensive. It's because it was. Price of gasoline has historically always been around $3 if we adjust it for inflation. It's just back then the prices of everything, the nominal prices were lower. So we always have to adjust for inflation, bring it into these real prices to be able to compare apples to apples.